my presentation on marginality theory. Here is an overview of what I will be discussing, so let's get right to it. So marginality theory, in order to understand what marginality theory is, it's important to understand what marginalization is. So marginalized populations are groups and communities that experience discrimination and exclusion because of unequal power relationships across economic, political, social, and cultural dimensions. So the way that this applies to marginality theory is that understanding why marginalized groups do not get to go out and participate in leisurely activities is really caused by the fact that these marginalized groups do not have the socioeconomic ability to do it, they do not have the education, and there are geographical disadvantages. So first, let's talk about socioeconomic status. Socioeconomic status basically realizes that minority groups cannot pay for these activities. And a great example of this is skiing. Skiing is a very expensive leisurely activity that usually is associated with wealth. And that is not fair to marginalized groups because why can't they enjoy nature like other people? So a way that we can solve this is by providing governmental aid to marginalized groups that make below a certain income. And what the government aid will provide is gear cards, so a way for groups to get gear. It'll provide free entrance fees, and it'll provide free transport, which we'll get more into later. So education. In a study that viewed how marginalized groups and their like how they attend national parks, they found that well, first of all, they do not get to go to national parks as much as other groups, and one of the reasons for this was actually really interesting. It was because they were fearful of the activities of like what if I slip and fall when I'm hiking, or what if I get hurt during skiing, because they weren't given education on these activities. So a way that we can do this is by having more programs in schools to teach kids at a young age the joys of leisurely activities and outdoor activities. So one way that we can do this is through programs, so more clubs in schools that discuss these activities, that go out to Yosemite, that go out hiking groups to go over the weekend, fund allocation, which will provide maybe the ability for schools to hold big events on Earth Day, um, and also grounds beautification, which is improving schools and also improving the parks nearby schools so young kids get more interactive with nature. And lastly, we're going to be talking about geographical disadvantages. As you can see, this diagram over here is an example of redlining, which is the movement of marginalized groups into certain sections, while wealthier groups or other racial groups are able to be on the outskirts that usually make more money, and they're often in better areas, while the marginalized groups are near more industrial regions and train tracks and unwanted areas. So when we talk about the impact of this, usually places that are more affordable are more in the outskirts of big hub areas. And that means that they probably have a lot less access to hiking trails, to mountains, to routes that provide these outdoor leisurely activities. So solutions for this is more accessibility. So extensions in the transportation system, like trains, to be able to reach these like Yosemite and hiking trails and big outdoor activities. Also, by providing bus routes and also city fund allocation to parks and recreational areas. And the way that we can connect two ideas is by having the financial aid that will be given to these marginalized groups to also be able to have them be able to ride the buses or the trains to these outdoor activities for free. And here's my works cited. Thank you very much, and hope you enjoy.